Hello everyone.
Governments and
Alright, I was just informed that this particular session is sponsored by Palms. So you'll be seeing a couple of their videos. So who has been having fun today? If you're having fun today, I want to see your hand up.
To be one unified
just 4 people,
under the African
5, 6,
Trade Agreement.
7 people. Come on. If you're having fun, let me see your hand up. I have my 2 hands up. All right. Everyone behind, please let's come sit. This is going to be a very interesting session because cross-border payments is something that matters a lot to everyone. You could have family in Kenya, in America, in Switzerland. They're trying to get money across to you. What's the easiest, fastest, most efficient way you can get money across? So I'd like us to just pay attention and just have a good time.
It's time to connect to PAPS. Connecting payments, accelerating Africa's trade. Discover what PAPS can do for you at paps.com.
Okay, I got my first time hearing of PAPS. It looks like a nice service. Okay, all right. So is Professor, is he ready? All right, great. So I'm the only one moderating this session, so I'd rather stand as against sitting, so I can chat with Doctor from here. And then any questions you have, please just articulate it so we can ask him all the questions at once. Hello, sir.
Hi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir. So please give me the honor to introduce you. I hope you don't mind. All right.
With all pleasure.
All right. So I looked at his profile, and this is a really important person, and I'd like us to see how much great work is done. He's the founding and incumbent chief executive of PFS, Precise Financial Systems. I know what caught me most about his profile is the fact that he was working in the bank before, and he just decided, hey, let me go start a software company and go do something different. Back then, when software wasn't really what software is, and I was able to build that company from almost nothing. I think it's 8,000 naira. Am I correct? I was able to build that company from nothing to something, right? And why it's important to me is because software is a big part of my life. So I'm fellow media, but why is a media guy moderating a financial system? I've worked in fintech in a lot of companies, and payments is really important. Software is important. Software powers almost everything that we're doing here. This TV, the mic, everything is powered by software. So I really respect Mr. Yele. So he holds a doctorate, he holds a Director of Business Admin degree from Swiss Business School, Zurich. And he's also an alumnus of the WITS Business School, Johannesburg, South Africa, Harvard Business School, Boston, where he completed the owner present management programs. He's also an alumnus of the Instead Fund Blue, France, where he completed the International Directors Program and obtained his certificate in corporate governance. So prior to PFS, the software company, he had a successful professional career at Inlax Computer before he proceeded to Industrial Bank Limited, the merchant bank. As a programmer and analyst, he was the chief information officer of Industrial Bank at the time, and he left for Ventura Savings and Loans Limited as the head systems and logistics department. He held this position until 1994 when he co-founded PFS with Philip Ayeni, a chartered accountant. I want to go on, but I'll let him just take the mic from here and do your introduction the way you want it, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. I think you introduced me well. My name is Yele Okere. That's just all I introduce myself as. I'm the CEO of Precise Financial Systems. And I'm very happy to be here. And kudos to Digital Africa. I'm always very proud of what you are doing. Big shout out to Dr. Evans Ohereni. I had thought that I would be there physically, but then I had exigencies. I have a board meeting that I have to deal with here. So, and then I realized that technology permits us to do this kind of things. I'm very happy to be part of this historic program, and I trust that whatever we do today would definitely impact our lives positively. So let me say that I will be responsible for whatever I say, and I will try to give answers as much as I know. But let me also say that just like those of us who are in academia understand that knowledge is something we keep building. So if I say something, it will be right as at the time I checked it last. But of course, many things could change in the future. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for that. Okay, so I'd like to kickstart this session with a very short story about cross-border payments. Sometime in 2017, there was a friend of mine, Tony Alaribe. He just graduated from University of Calabar. He always wanted to travel. His dad used to lock him indoors. He reads all day. So he's like, fella, I've graduated. Please, let's travel somewhere. Where can we go? I said, okay, let's go to Cameroon. We were in Calabar at the time. So we took the boat, we traveled to Cameroon, and we got there. We were so naive, forgetting that our GT Bank cards won't work. So when we got there, we tried to withdraw money from the ATM, no money. So all the money we exchanged at the border was finished in like a day or two, and then we got stranded. So why I said I love software again, we just met some guys at the beach house. They said, you guys build software, you build websites. I know a client in Douala, come work with the client. And we were going to stay just 1 week in Cameroon, but we ended up staying a whole month because the client there employed us to build a website, to build a software. So I realized that our Nigerian bank cards don't work there. Even EcoBank that is meant to be Pan-African, it didn't work on the, so we were, if not for the fact that we had soft skills, I'm sure they would have deported us basically. All right, so that's going to be the conversation today. Cross-border payments, how can artificial intelligence, how can it help us to improve or build or have our lives, improve the quality of our lives? All right, so I have a couple of questions, but I don't know if you want to share some thoughts, first of all, on the overview or the present landscape of artificial intelligence and cross-border payments in Africa. I think we should just start there.
Well, I mean, look, so let's talk about payments, generally speaking, then I'll come specifically to cross-border payments, and then I'll try to link it up with artificial intelligence. Now, payments is what everybody in one form or the other has to do. And there are very many reasons why we make payments. Either we are paying for services or we're paying for goods. Sometimes we're paying for gifts, or sometimes we are investing or saving as it might be. Or, for those of us who are religious, we go to church and we pay tithes and offerings. So there are so many things that happen, or utility bills and stuff like that. So payment is something that is almost impossible to escape. Now, but that's the way it used to be when the world was still nicer, when the world was still innocent, so to speak. But today, the world has become more like a global village, such that everything anybody does anywhere is interconnected to what every other person is doing in every other place, such that in the past it was inconceivable for you to even attempt to make a payment in Abuja from Lagos. For those of us who are old enough to know the days when we were doing only checks in this country, there were two types of checks, and one was called a local check, and the other was called an up-country check. And the local check used to be about 7 days before it would clear, while the up-country check would take about 15 days. So if you wrote a check and you wanted a payment in Abuja, it would take about 21 days before the person in Abuja got the money. And so that was a bit of a nightmare for so many people. And so today, we've seen that within Nigeria particularly, payment is virtually seamless. Thank God for what we call software, and basically that's been implemented in what we call switches. So that's the bottom line that powers payment, that makes it extremely easy and intuitive. Now, linking it to artificial intelligence. So essentially, we know what we want to pay, we know who we want to pay, and we know when we want to pay. Now, and so basically we all determine when we want to do those transactions. But there are every payment, well, let me not say every, most of the payments that we really get to make can actually be predicted, can be known. For example, when for those of us, for those of you that own some entertainment system, be it DSTV, be it Netflix, be it whatever you are using, the system knows you have a subscription. You know when the subscription falls due. And so what artificial intelligence is able to do is being able to predict some of these things, and not only being able to predict, it's being able to help you effect those payments without you necessarily having to remember or worry about doing those things. So what artificial intelligence does is basically to understand your behavior, use the data that it's able to get from yourself and from around you to determine and predict your behavior, and then help you to act in a rational manner. So today you see that the number of people, their artificial intelligence assistant is able to make this kind of utility payments. You want to pay your rent, I'm not talking about Lagos or Abuja, but for those who live in some other cities, where rents are paid maybe monthly, system knows how much to pay, where mortgages need to be paid, the system knows how much to pay, and it automatically effects these payments just in time without you needing to worry yourself about remembering and about pressing anything or pushing any buttons to make it happen. So artificial intelligence does that pretty well. Now, because the focus of our conversation today is on cross-border payments. Now, cross-border payments is absolutely similar to local payments, except that the counterpart is in a different geographical location or a different country. So it then means that it's possible if there are subscriptions. Like, for example, those of us that still have subscriptions, Microsoft Azure, even Microsoft Office subscriptions, sometimes some of us have those subscriptions denominated in foreign currencies or from foreign countries. So those are cross-border payments. In which case we are saying that once we are able to have access to get our artificial intelligence assistants to have access to our account, then of course it is able to even make those cross-border payments on our behalf. I'll talk about complexities of cross-border payments more later, but I think because the question you are about is how artificial intelligence is able to work with cross-border payments, I'll just limit it to this at this particular point in time.
Thank you so much. I like the way you broke it down. What payment is, first of all, before we now dive into cross-border payment. But from what you said, it looks like artificial intelligence makes us very lazy.
You can say that again. You can say that again. But I won't say makes us lazy, it redirects us. Because you see, there is work that we do that we think we are working, when some other thing can do the work better. So I call that kind of thing grunt work. You don't need grunt work. Go and do real work and let some other, it's the same principle. When people become senior executives in their organizations, they begin to have paraphernalia like drivers, like secretaries and stuff like that. The number of people are excellent. They're probably better drivers than the official drivers. But it is determined that their time is better spent thinking and preparing for meetings than having to drive and having to park. So if you say artificial intelligence makes us lazy, you can say that, but I would say it makes us better.
Yeah, makes us better, makes us faster, makes us smarter. One way I would like AI to work for us is our bill payment. It's like the thing should know that my light wants to finish. You should just buy it and top it up on its own.
It can know. It can know. Artificial intelligence today can do that. That's one of the easiest applications of AI to payments.
Great. All right. So, in what ways can digital innovations like AI, what ways can actually improve cross-border payments? What will AI really do particularly? I want to send money to my lover in Kenya or my brother in Sri Lanka. What can AI do for me?
Now, you see, first of all, let's situate that question, because that question is heavily pregnant. So I'm going to look at it from two perspectives. And why I say pregnant So let's even look at if you were going to effect that payment on your own without any assistance. What are the complexities and what are the challenges? Like I said, I said what used to exist in Nigeria some years ago, when the only way to pay money to somebody different from yourself was through writing checks. And I gave the example that at that time we had 37 clearing zones in Nigeria, each clearing zone in each state and another one in the Federal Capital Territory. And if you wrote a check outside your clearing zone, it was considered an up-country check. So if you write a check in Lagos from your branch in Lagos, payable in Ibadan, it will take 21 days for that check to clear. And you can see how slow, how cumbersome that could be. But what happened and what changed? Simply automation came.
Yeah.
The advent of switches came. Switches came and started delivering instant payment or near instant payment. So technology allows a payment instruction to originate from one bank into another. You see, for those of us that are old enough, you remember there were in those days when you had to go to the banks of those days, you would go in the morning if you wanted to withdraw money. You go in the morning and leave your check there, then they give you a tally number.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you go to work or go to the market and come back in the afternoon. And then they call your tally number. I'm sure some of you may remember that advert. Give me my tally number. And you know, these are things that used to happen. I mean, people that are born today would probably cannot even associate with some of these things. But what happened was that even within the same bank, if your branch was in Victoria Island, you could not go to Yaba or even Marina to withdraw money easily. But switches came, and what the banks initially began to do was what they call one branch banking, meaning it doesn't matter which branch your account is domiciled, you can visit any of the branches and you will be served as though you are in your own branch. So banks got automated to that extent. And what led to that was the advent of wide area networks and centralized databases. That's what facilitated that. Then the next thing that happened was moving money from bank A to bank B. The only way to do that was doing transfers or writing checks, which I have explained. But then something else came up, which is called switches. So switches came into the story and allowed us to be able to make transfers from bank A to bank B within Nigeria, locally. Now, when we extend and extrapolate that to cross-border payments, there is a principle that still exists till today called correspondent banking. So the way to do cross-border payments conventionally before the advent of the PABs and the likes was that you would have to transfer money through your own correspondent bank offshore for the benefit of the person you want to transfer the money to. And so what would then happen sometimes is that your own correspondent bank, remember you have your own local bank in Nigeria, your local bank in Nigeria will transfer the money through their correspondent bank, probably in New York, to the correspondent bank of the beneficiary, probably in London. And meanwhile, the beneficiary is just across the border in the Republic of Benin or Ghana. So you are moving money from Nigeria, first of all, to New York, from New York to London, and then from London, hopefully, to get to the Republic of Benin. But what has happened today with initiatives like PABs and similar things where we are having what we call mega switches or supranational switches, cross-border payments are becoming facilitated, which means that it is possible for me to transfer money, funds, from a local bank in Lagos to a local bank in Ghana or in Cote d'Ivoire or in Abuja, in Ethiopia, and the money can get to the local bank actually in seconds. It's absolutely possible. What's making all this possible are switches. But that's the technology side of it. There's a whole government behind it that supports the technology, because there's a whole business side of the currents of how funds flow from one end to the other. But bottom line is that ultimately these things are made possible with the involvement of switches and technology. Now, once you come to the level of switches and technology, the story becomes a lot more interesting. Artificial intelligence becomes something that is easy to plug in to technology.
Great. So you just took the next question out of my mouth, because I was about to talk about PAPS. We saw the video of PAPS a while ago, and I'm like, okay, I know PAPS is a cross-border payment now, but how can it become a part of us? What do you think? What do you think we need to do? To what extent can AI be used to make a system like PAPS to be like our everyday life? We use it every time. Are there measures that need to take? They need to go into partnership with the private, with the government? Are there regulations? What do you think system like that can use to become a household name, or something we can use easily, like the way we use USSD or the way we use just general phone calls?
All right, and I think you've asked a good question. So let me answer your question in 2 minutes. So first of all, you see, any innovation stands on 3 legs. It's a tripod.
Please say it again. I didn't hear that. Say it again.
I said any innovation stands on 3 legs.
Okay.
All right. One leg is the technology innovation, as it were, technology development. The second leg is legislation. Do we have laws to protect the people that participate? Do we have rules to govern what happens? So if anything goes wrong, do we know how to adjudicate? That's important. And then the third leg, that's much more important than even these two, is social. Social means, how does the society accept this innovation? Does the society love it? Is it a solution looking for a problem? Because so many beautiful things exist that people don't use because it is simply not part of what they want to do. All right? So, if the society agrees with something, the technology innovation is there, and the legislation makes them trust it, then it becomes excellent. So let's bring this home to the context of how can we make parts of things like this become everyday life. It's simple. What problem are we solving? The problem we are solving is cross-border payments. That's where apps comes in. And what drives that is simply that trade, intra-continental trade, is what is going to drive the adoption of this solution. Just as long as there is a lot of intra-continental trade happening, there will definitely be need for payments, because it's impossible for you to discuss trade without payments. And so once intra-continental trade becomes part of our lives, then intra-continental payments will naturally become part of our lives. All right? And once this happens, then the platform to use become a subject of conversation. Because remember that there are global players already before PAPS came. There are the MasterCard, the Visas, and so on and so forth. But all of them coming with their own benefits and their own challenges. But one of the most beautiful things about PAPS, for example, is that you don't need to route your payment like the one I just described. I want to make a payment from Lagos to Accra. I first route it through New York, from New York to London, from London to Accra. You don't need to go through all those steps with PAPS, just sitting in between. PAPS allows the transaction to go directly from Lagos to Accra. One single hub. Everybody is happy, very efficient, and it's easy to trace. So once we sort out intra-continental trade, I absolutely have no doubt about the success of PAPS.
Awesome. You know, I I want us to keep talking about PAPs, but let's not forget the other underdogs there. Let me not call them underdogs. My first experience with cross-border payments or international payments was Barter by Florida Wave. Then it felt
Yes.
like, for me, it felt like the best thing, the best tech then when I couldn't pay my Netflix, I couldn't pay my Apple Music, I couldn't do stuff. I just get a virtual card on Barter. But now that particular feature has been shut down. So is there ever going to be a time when anything PAPS is working on, our government will shut it down or stop something like that?
Now, you see, let me just quickly chip in this. Listen, see, when we talk about payments and indeed financial technology and extensively to banking, because as far as I'm concerned, financial technology is simply, fintech is simply banking. Now, we have to understand that there are two legs for this kind of businesses. While you can call banking or fintech a business, it's also a trust. It is a trust because public fund is involved. It is a trust because actually it is one of the levers that every smart central bank governor knows she can pull to stimulate or to dampen the economy. And so every central bank government, every central bank governor is concerned about the health of banks. And that's why banking will continue to be very, very heavily regulated, because it's a trust. And so we have to understand that, yes, there's absolutely nothing anybody can do about regulations. But once the regulatory frameworks are in place and are well understood, then anybody that wants to come in is welcome to play. It then becomes, at that point, a game of scale and skill. So it's either you are going to deliver cheaper than other people, or you are going to deliver better than other people. So those are the two things that begin to play. So yes, PAPS is a player, just like you say. There's absolutely no reason why there won't be other players. Like we say, what's PAPS providing? One, they provide technology infrastructure. Secondly, they also provide a structure that's connected to the financial institutions that guarantees that funds flow can be seamless. So pretty much if any other player has the capability to do this, such a player is absolutely welcome and can compete excellently well in the field. In any case, like I said, PAPS itself is coming as a contender to the traditional players, the MasterCards and the Visas of this world.
Thank you so much. This particular answer, it answered like my next three questions. So you've really done a good job on that. So what are the kind of financial literacy education? What kind of financial literacy education do you advise can be taught to people? Most of us here, we can say we are like in the top elite. We know what's up. People that don't really know a lot, how can we get them to understand that there are services like PAPS or the others that they can use to make this kind of transactions?
And the honest truth is, people don't really need banks. People really don't need switches. What they need is banking services and switching services. So really, to be honest with you, people are not really interested in who's delivering the service. They just want the service. And I think the most important thing is for people to be aware that it's actually possible.
Awareness, yeah.
For you to effect payments between Lagos and Accra seamlessly. Once they get to know that, then their options will be easy. But secondly, remember I told you that this is a game of trust. All right? So people need to also be aware of things that they must also do to protect the entire ecosystem. Because you see, confidence is what really holds the industry called banking together. Because today, if all the depositors of every bank were to go to their banks and say, we want our money back now, the entire industry will collapse. The reason why the industry remains as stable as it is because people have confidence. It's the same way with payments. So everybody that's going to be involved and connected to the ecosystem needs to be aware of certain rules and regulations, certain do's and certain don'ts that protect them first and also protect the ecosystem next to ensure that everybody in the ecosystem is safe. Now, these are awareness programs that must necessarily be carried out by the players in the ecosystem, including the banks, including the switching partners, including the aggregators, including super and agents and stuff like that. So people need to know, for example, be careful what you click on. For example, be careful what you are installing on your device, and be careful who you disclose certain sensitive information to. So all these things are important in the whole gamut to protect the system and give us what we are looking for. But if we are able to manage this fairly reasonably well, then I think, yes, a whole lot of beautiful future is ahead of the industry.
Great. I'm not sure if it's the way your mind is working and how logical it is that you are basically answering the next question. Like I was going to ask you, so how do we address issues with cybersecurity? Now, I'm able to send money around the world. Won't these issues come up that someone can take my money and send somewhere else, or the security of our money is not as efficient as it used to be? What are the threats? What can be done to mitigate this issue with cybersecurity?
Now, that's a real problem. So let me tell you something. In the past, when we were dealing with cash, before you could have access to my money, you'd have to break into my house. And even after breaking into my house, you probably need to break into a safe. You need, first of all, to break into a room and then break into a safe, as it were, before you can have access to my money. And that suggests that it is only possible for a local thief to rob anybody when
Correct.
The world was still innocent.
Correct.
But today, it's a different ballgame because the entire world is connected electronically. And that suggests that your account may be sitting in Abuja there, and you are physically in London, and somebody is stealing your money from Mexico. And there's absolutely nothing you can do except you have taken certain precautions.
Correct.
And that's what we need to begin to talk about right now. Realizing that the moment, and I say this, the moment you issue an electronic card, or the moment you tokenize your account, either by installing a mobile app or logging on to a website and putting your credentials, you have given notice not only to the bank and yourself that you have money, you have given notice to the entire world. And the notice you are giving to the world suggests that to the bank guys, I'm available, please come and rob me. And there's a saying in Yoruba land that the flood does not say it will not sweep your home away. It is the homeowner that will not permit the flood to come. In other words, the moment you begin to have electronic transactions, it behoves you, the account holder, to do the needful to ensure that your account is well protected. And there are so many things to do in doing that. First of all, I can give a few tips. You have what I call it a buffer zone. So what I do, you have an account that is not directly connected to the electronic system like that. And then from that account is where you move money to the one that is connected, and you don't move too much money at any time. Secondly, you make sure you have to protect all your tokens. Thirdly, you make sure that your credentials, you don't use public machines and put your credentials there. Fourthly, ensure that the devices you are using are pretty well protected against with antiviruses and anti-malware and stuff like that. And then a whole host of other things. When you receive emails and even WhatsApp messages, and somebody asks you to click a link, you need to make sure that the link you are about to click is one that you trust, not one that is malicious enough to be able to understand your account and cut away probably your entire life savings. So there's a whole lot that we need to learn about cyber security. But the same way we take care of physical security, we must learn to take care of cyber security the moment we begin to act in the cyberspace.
Thank you. Everyone on the food line, you guys missed how to protect your money. I know we are about, but let's pay some attention. This is some real wisdom here. right? And something to even bring it back home. Most importantly, sometime I lost my phone on the 4th of June. It was my birthday. So I was driving to the party venue, and these guys had dragged phone out of the car and the Wusep 2 bridge. They dragged my phone out, and that's when my phone was gone. So in 2 days' time, I started getting debits because that was the same connected to my bank. They started taking money out, So those are things that if you lose your phone, immediately go block that SIM card or call your bank to just immediately that's one way to like people can actually steal your money. So this last question, I think everyone should actually pay attention because this will affect everyone here. Please, let's answer. The question I have is, how can this cross-border payments impact us as individuals, as SMEs, as upcoming people? Like, how can we tap into it? How can it make us better? What are the benefits to us? Is there an opportunity in there that we can align ourselves in properly to probably just make a killing? Just give us that advice so that we can let everyone eat in peace.
So, there is a colloquial saying that waiting concern Agla will cook. Because Agla, for those of us who remember Agla, he was a wrestler. He had no hair on his head. So you say, what does he want to do with a cook? You can say the same thing. If your life is easy, you don't have international business, you don't intend to sell your goods and services to foreign entities, and you are not buying anything from outside your local country, then you have no concern with cross-border payments. But if either you are going to buy or you intend to sell your goods and services to foreign lands, then, of course, cross-border payments is something that you must begin to pay attention to. Because you see, it's not, there's absolutely no, I said it earlier, it's impossible for you to talk about trade without talking payments. So you deliver the goods, if you are the one selling, you deliver the goods and you get your payments. If you are not able to get your payments, you would have been better having your goods with you, at least you will be seeing it. So, for anyone that intends to sell goods and services at international levels, you must get interested in what we are talking about in cross-border payments. Similarly, anyone that is involved in importation and you realize that you need to import from anywhere outside of Nigeria, you must be interested in cross-border payments. For those, Nigeria is heavily import dependent. But you understand what I'm talking about? The number of times you want to buy something and you say you have transferred the money. Sometimes the money doesn't get there until 4 days' time. And the person says, I haven't received the money, I can't transfer the goods to you. Or probably you have already promised your own customers that this thing will be delivered at so time. So you must be concerned about the efficiency and the safety of cross-border payments. And that's why we are happy about what's going on, particularly within the Africa continent, to power the AFTA. We are talking about ability to have our own local payments, cross-border payment systems. And I absolutely have no doubt that this will be successful. Is coming up.
Thank you. So we should all start thinking of the things we can sell internationally. I was on a boat crossing that around Cameroon, and there was this man. He was selling afang leaf. He was transporting it from Cross River to Cameroon. That man is a millionaire. They eat afang a lot in Cameroon. So we should all think of what we can be doing. Start exporting. So, sir, please, you mentioned something about a Yoruba quote, but you said it in English. It didn't hit home, right? I'd like to repeat it in Yoruba so that the Yoruba people here can we can we can internalize it.
The adage is àgbàrá òjò lóhùn onílé wọ̀, onílé ni ò ní gbà fún.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir. This has been really interesting, and I have a lot more questions, but I'm sure I'll get to meet you sometime so I can ask you one-on-one.
I'll be very honored. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
much.
Long
live Digital Africa.
Great. All right. So I think it's the end of the session. I would like to say thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time.